three companies, HP, Lenovo and Dell, have launched two laptops each in the market with unique specifications. However, some of the specifications of a few laptops are unknown. While buying a laptop, a probable buyer takes into account only four features, that is processor, RAM size, hard disk and the battery life. These four features have different upgradations, like a processor could be a simple core. It could be upgraded to dual core, quad core, i3, i5 or i7 in the increasing order of their efficiency. Similarly, RAM could be upgraded from 1 GB to 2 GB, 4 GB, 6 GB, 8 GB or 16 GB. Hard disk can be upgraded from 40 GB to 80 GB, 160 GB, 320 GB, 500 GB or 1000 GB. And battery can be upgraded from 3 hours life to 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours or 8 hours life. The price of the base model, that is a model with the most simplest features, that is a simple core processor with 1 GB RAM, a 40 GB hard disk and a 3 hour battery life, is rupees 25,000. Now, for each upgradation an additional cost is incurred, and for that cost the logic is as follows. For each upgradation in the features listed from A to D below, some extra amount is charged which is different for different features. Understand that carefully, different for different features. That means the cost for each upgradation in a processor is different for cost of each upgradation in a RAM, is again different for cost of each upgradation in a hard disk, and is different for a cost of each upgradation in a battery life. Then but it remains constant for every upgradation in the same feature. That means if the cost of upgrading a RAM from 1 GB to 2 GB is rupees X, then the cost of upgrading from 2 GB to 4 GB is again X, 4 GB to 6 GB is again X, or 1 GB to 4 GB is 2X. Fine. And it costs less to upgrade a RAM than a processor. The upgradation amount reduces from A to D. That means the cost of upgrading a processor is the maximum. The cost of each upgradation is lesser than that of processor. The cost of each upgradation of hard disk is lesser than that of RAM. The cost of upgrading a battery life is least. Fine. It is given that the cost of each upgradation of a processor costs rupees 1000. That is, from simple core to dual core one has to spend additional 1000, from dual core to quad core one has to spend another 1000, and so on. For battery life one has to spend additional rupees 550 from 3 hours to 4 hours, or from 4 hours to 5 hours, and so on. Now it is also given that the cost of each upgradation of all the four features is a multiple of 50, and for RAM it is less than 1000. So the maximum cost for upgrading a RAM can be 950, or it may be 900 or lesser than that in the multiples of 50. Similarly, for hard disk it is less than 950, it could be 900, 850, 800 and so on. If I talk about the minimum cost, the cost of upgrading a hard disk has to be more than 550. That means the minimum value is 600, because it has to be a multiple of 50. It could be 650, 700 and so on. Similarly, for RAM the minimum price could be 650, because it has to be more than 600. Now the question is, Mayank want to buy a laptop having at least i3 processor or above, 4 GB RAM at least, and at least 320 GB hard disk, and at least 4 hour power backup. How many laptops may satisfy his criteria? First part of the question. What is the least amount that he will have to spend to buy a model matching his requirement? Second part of the question. Let's see the table. We know that the notebook model and Pavilion model will not satisfy his requirements because the processor is lesser than his requirements, and the Vostrona model will also not satisfy his requirement because the battery backup is 3 hours. Now Inspirona model may satisfy his requirements if the RAM size is if I assume it to be 4 GB, if I assume the hard disk to be minimum, that is 320 GB, and battery life to be 4 hours. I have assumed the minimum because I have to minimize the cost of his laptop. So if these three things are there in the Inspirona, then Inspirona may satisfy. Ideabad and Essentiala all have the features of his requirement, and that is either equal to or more than his requirement. Now we'll calculate the price of each model. Know that the additional cost for each upgradation is above 25,000, and the total cost will be cost of upgradation plus 25,000. So first of all we will calculate the additional cost of upgradation for each laptop. Let's calculate it for Inspirona. Inspirona i3 processor is 3 upgradations, that is from simple core to dual core, quad core and i3. For each upgradation it is 1000, for 3 upgradation it is 3000. For i5 4 upgradations 4000, for i7 5 upgradations 5000. 4 GB RAM is 2 upgradations from 1 GB to 2 GB and 4 GB. So each upgradation was costing 650, which is the minimum cost of upgradation for a RAM. So for 2 upgradations it will become 1300. This will also become 1300, and 8 GB is 4 upgradations, so it is 2600. 320 GB hard disk is 3 upgradations in hard disk, and for each upgradation the minimum cost is 600. So for 3 upgradations it is 1800. This is 5 upgradations, this is 3000, 5 into 600, and this is again 3 upgradations, so 3 into 600, this is again 1800. Battery hour 4 hours. 4 hours means 1 upgradation. 1 upgradations means 550. 2 upgradations mean 1100. This is again 550. Now let's calculate cost of upgrading for Inspirona. 3000 plus 1300 is 4300, plus 1800 is 6100, plus 550 is 6650. So for Inspirona the additional cost is 6650. This is 4000 plus 3000, it is 7000. No need to calculate for this, it is because it is more than 6650 and I have to calculate the least, so no need to calculate this. 5000 plus 2600, it is again more than 6650, no need to calculate this. 6650 plus 25000, the price of the base model, that is 31650, is the least price that he has to pay, which is in the option D. So 3 models satisfy his criteria and the least price for the model would be 31650.